Okay, we have created project 1. The
So,
credit of also started.
should I activate this?
No, you don't need to. So that you see at the top, right? It says 90 days remaining. It means that you have already added the credit card details. Go to project 1 and on the third, you see that hamburger sign on the left, the 3 lines besides Google Cloud. Click on that. Yeah, and that select compute engine and go to VM instances at the top. Yeah, it's already enabled. So yesterday when you might have clicked, so you might have seen that enable API, right? So this happens due to the network issue. Mostly when you're trying to refresh, it will give you an error, but it actually in the background enables. Yeah, now we can create an instance. So as everybody joins, I'll walk you through how you can create an instance. Okay.
Anything else need to be changed here?
No, hold on to it. We'll do it together. Let others join. Okay. We'll start at 8:05 and I'll start the demo from there. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can stop the screen share now. Good. Let's wait for others to join till 8:05 and then we can get started. Okay, let's get started. Hello, Sujana. Hello, Srinivas. So let
Hi.
me share my screen and let me know once my screen is visible to all. Is my screen visible to all? Let me start the chat. It's my screen. Is my screen visible to all?
Vasu, can I share screen? No?
Yeah, good. You don't have to because
Okay.
Sujana is also new to the batch, right? So I'll be covering. So the main agenda would be for me to cover the custom image topic, but before that, I'll also demo the rest of the rest of the topics that we have covered. I'll also do the hands-on for that as well. So you don't have to share. I'll do that. Okay. I'll do the step by step, and you can do it parallelly with me. Okay. Okay. So if you guys might have enabled the GCP project and added the credit details and enabled the compute VM API, you would see some page like this when you click on instance. So here, let me talk about this GCP console. So yesterday we landed on this particular page. This is nothing but your GCP dashboard, correct? If you want to switch the projects, you can switch it from here. Okay. It has three different tabs: recent, start, and all. Correct. In this, it might be possible in an organization that your recent will only show the projects that you have recently used or you might have created, but all shows all the projects that is available into your organization. You may or may not have access to that particular project. Okay, let's say tomorrow you get an assignment wherein you need to access a different project which you don't have worked with. So if you want to search for that particular project, you need to come here in all, and then you'll be able to locate that project. Okay. So when you work with an org, normally the structure would be different. It will not be directly like this. So you have organization at the time. Organization at the top. An example of organization can be, let's say, XYZ, xyz.com. You have XYZ at the top, correct? Under this, you'll have multiple different folders. This folders can be based on multiple different verticals, multiple different departments as well. Okay. When I say verticals, as it can be environmental, a simple, I take a very simple example. You'll have folders like this: dev, QA, and prod. Correct. Dev is development, QA is for testing, where your QA team will test all the changes that you have developed or the product that you have developed. And production is actually wherein you make live all your products and services, right? Under this particular folder, you'll have multiple projects: project 1, project 2, project 3, project 4, and so on. Okay, similarly here, it is possible that you are not actually you have created some projects which are in dev only, right, for some use case, but it is not yet moved on to QA. So you might have only 2 different projects like this. And in prod, again, only those 2 might be moved. The name of this project will not be same. Remember, the name of the project will not be same, because even if I try and go to GCP console, if you see here, right? Let me try create a new project with the name Cloud Engineer again. This was the name, correct? If you see location, if I do create this project, it takes some time, but I'll be able to create it. But I just said that the name of the project will not be the same, right? Project 1, project will not be the same. That's why I changed the number. Then what's the difference? If I come to the same page, and if I see here, right, you see the IDs are different. These are the names of that particular entity, but project is referred by the ID. The ID will never be the same. Okay, and once assigned, a name can be changed of a project, but the ID cannot be changed. Always remember this. This particular ID cannot be changed once created. Okay.
So these both these cloud engineer belong to same organization?
Yeah, currently I don't have an organization. This is my personal account. Right? That's why I don't have an organization here, if you see.
So
But
it
when
is
you go
not
to,
showing any conflict here.
no, it will not, because the ID is different, right? You can think of it an example as a primary key. It means that
Okay.
two people can have the same name, right? But if their primary key or unique identification number is different, UUID that we call, right? Unique identification number. If it's different, for example, there will be multiple people in this country will have the same name as Vasu, correct? But we all have different IDs. I mean, my PAN card number is different, my Aadhaar card number is different, my other identities like passport, visa, everything is different, correct? So that's how we are differentiated. It is a nomenclature, but this is the primary ID. So everywhere you will be asked for an ID. You'll not be asked for the name. So the ID has to be unique. Getting it? Srinivas, Shujana, are you getting it? Srinivas, I think I didn't cover this part, right?
Yes,
I was
yes.
about to do it later, but I thought that I'll cover it now so that it's not repetitive for you as well. Right? One point, guys, to remember here is that I can change the name of the project. Let's say if I want to make it like Cloud Engineer 2, I can save it, but I don't get to, if you see, it will try changing the ID. I cannot, if you see, right? You cannot change it. Once an ID is assigned, it cannot be changed. The name can be changed multiple times. Now I'll tell you what is the reason. Why do we need to change the name? This can be an example wherein two people are creating the projects manually, right? You and I, we were working on the same project. We thought that we'll give the same name. As it's not visible to you, you might come up and, because you might not see this Cloud Engineer project. Okay, so you might come up here and create a new project with the same name, correct? Then I can only distinguish the project based on the primary ID or unique identification number. This is that ID. Okay. Again, I'll repeat. Once you have created a project, the name can be changed, but the ID cannot be. The best practice to name a project ID that I follow is best practice for ID creation that I follow is that project name, that whatever you want to give, okay, followed by creation date. So this is what I follow. Typically, if I want to give that ID, I would give a date at the end so that I know on what particular day I have created that particular project. Like in this case, right, it says data analytics 230001. The reason I created it with this name was because I will mark it as on 2023. This was the first project that I created under this project. Or if you see about the data engineering part, it is 2023 0419. I created that particular project on 19th April 2023. Correct? There are multiple ways you can follow any standard, but instead of having some random number, right, which doesn't help you much. Correct? It's better you use something that makes sense to you. Are you with me, guys? Shrira, Srinivas, anybody has any questions on this? Whatever we talked about this project till now?
Till now, we are clear, Vasu.
Okay. So let's talk about the folder part where Kovit is talking about. Srinivas already knows this. So once we create this project, it comes from here, right? What if I want to create a folder? I have to click on this. But to create a folder, I need to have an organization. Like even if I try this, I tried yesterday to create like put dev. It asks me for a location, but I cannot select this organization. If you see, it's not possible for me to create a folder under this. But once you select an organization, you'll be using the organization to create different folders. One typical example that we covered was this dev, QA, and prod. But it is not like that, right? You'll have a team which is working on data engineering. You will be the people who will be working on cloud engineering. It means that you will be spread across multiple verticals. For example, when I say multiple verticals, it means that a company can have multiple different verticals as a business. It can have operations, and operations that will have multiple different branches: e-business, mobile practice, big data, data science, multiple other, right? People like who work on cloud engineers, people who are working on backend, like database engineer, data engineers, or big data engineers, or for that matter, the Salesforce people, right? They are spread across verticals. If I can draw it for you, let me try sharing. If I can share a whiteboard, just a minute. Let me know, please, if the whiteboard is visible. Is the whiteboard visible now?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I say vertical, verticals are nothing but operations. Like when I say business, right? You have this business. Sorry about this. I actually forgot to get my pen today. So under this, you'll have multiple different verticals. I'll take 3 examples. Let's talk about mobile. Okay. E-business. E-business are in retail, people who sell online, right? I'm doing consulting for them. And I'm also talking about health. I'm also serving healthcare clients. Okay. Now these are verticals. It means that it is specific practice. This will have only mobile people. It will have only e-commerce or e-business who run their business online. I'm supporting those clients or customers. And this is healthcare customers. Correct. But now when you actually go and see the requirement for the people, okay, the requirement for the people will be different here. You'll have people going across, like for example, data engineers. Data engineers will be used in mobile application because you need a backend. E-business practice, you'll need a backend guy. Healthcare, you'll need a backend guy. Cloud engineers, because if you want to deploy their application onto cloud, you need to have that, correct? Without that, it will not be possible. So you'll be having again the same practice across. So these are verticals and these are horizontals. So people are from IT, they might already know this. Let me go back to the cloud console. The reason I'm telling you this is while you create the folders, this can be one of the practices that can be followed. For example, I can have a folder, like say I have an ABC organization. I can have a folder which says data engineering as part of team. Okay. I can say cloud ops, cloud operations. I can have people learn data science. I can have a project that says infra. All the infra things I'm actually controlling from this particular project, right? In essence, under this particular folders, I can have multiple different projects. If I talk about, it will be P1 here, P2 here, and P3. These are different projects, and you can have multiple different projects under them as well. Correct? Can I have a combination of both the two? Yes, you can also have the combination of both the two. That under data engineering, you have again folder which dev, QA, and prod, and under respective folders you'll have it. The reason we are discussing it's not just for organizing them logically, rather it also takes in precedence when you apply any policy. Like organization will have the highest policy, then you have dev, like the folder, and then you have the project. Correct? I'll repeat it. So any policy that you can be applied on organization will be applicable to in each and every aspect of the resource that relies under that particular organization. Then you have folder. If you apply, let's say, a policy on dev, a different policy on QA, different policy on prod, it will be only inflicted, or it will be only shown or followed on the project which are under this particular folder, like dev. For QA, it will be a different policy as we discussed, and for prod, it will be a different policy that we discussed. Okay. So I'll be showing all the IAM policy related things once we go to the IAM one. This is currently for the start. So are we clear about the projects, folders, and organization? It plays a very vital role into organizing your resources hierarchy. So that using this organization structure, I can easily make sure that the billing part of data engineering team goes to data engineering, cloud ops goes to cloud ops, data science goes to data science, and infra goes to infra. Right? I can have separate billings for all the projects. Okay. I cancel this. Now coming back to the Google Cloud dashboard. This was a dashboard where we landed. We saw multiple details. I have multiple projects here. Selecting cloud engineer, you might see this. So currently this API, right? If you have enabled the API, you will see the changes here. Else it will be the same page. It shows you multiple different I can say services that are getting started. Documentation page here. Activities, what activities that you might have done here. Yeah. Currently on this, I've executed this account billing and all that today 8 a.m. right? It gives you copies every activity that you have performed on the particular project and any recommendation that you might have. Right? If you do have relevant permissions, you may not see all recommendations in the project, but I am the root owner, right? I'm using my root owner. That's why it should not be a problem. Coming back to the dashboard or this page. So some people call this icon as 3 lines. Some people call this a navigation menu. Some people call this as hamburger. Hamburger, like if you look at it, it looks like a hamburger, right? So it depends upon what you call it. I prefer calling it navigation menu. So on this navigation menu, you'll see all the different services. The services that you see, these are pinned services which are common. These are mostly used. That's why Google Cloud already pins it for you. But if I go down here, you'll see under more products, you'll find all the different products here. Under compute, serverless, storage, database, right? I go here, back, it says all products. Google Cloud recently released this page wherein you can go and find all the different services in one place. If you want to see storage, analytics, networking, the one that we're going to cover, compute, we're going to cover compute engine, we're going to cover Kubernetes engine, Anthos and Batch we are not. Anthos and Batch is a multi-cloud. Let's say if you are using AWS and GCP or Azure or GCP or Azure or AWS, we'll use Anthos. Batch is not required because there are multiple ways to achieve it. You don't require to enable a specific service. Now, how would you know that if it is a specific service or it is a part of some service? But let's say I have enabled compute engine. Like yesterday, we enabled the API, correct? How would I come to know whether it's a specific service or it is a part of compute engine only? For each and every service you want to try and use, Google or Google Cloud will make sure that you will enable the API consciously. It means that to access that particular service, you have to enable the API every time. Let's say I'm running compute engine and tomorrow I want to access batch service, right? If I click on this batch, you'll see that it'll ask me to enable the API. It will not enable the API if I have not used before automatically for me. It will say that enable the API and then start using, so that I know that you are consciously making that decision to enable the API. Enabling API doesn't cost you anything. Okay, you can see. So this is how I can say that this is a separate service itself, because it's asking me to enable the API. Okay, guys, with me till here. So we talked about the dashboard, we talked about the all products page, then you can go and find it, and we also talked about the spin area. Basically, let's say tomorrow you don't need any service, you can unpin from here. Let's say I'm not going to cover SQL or Maps platform. I can unpin, it will go away, right? I'm not going to show BigQuery, so it will go away. If you click on API and services, it will show you what API that you have enabled, right? And you can enable the APIs from here as well, right? You can search here for the name, and the service will come up. For example, we search for batch. If I search for batch, you see batch API. I can enable it from here as well. But this page I don't feel much easy to navigate, though it has this categories. I prefer it more easily to available from the all products page. If you go to all products, if you come here, now if I know that which particular family it belongs to, let's say management, compute, analytics, I can easily go and enable it. If I, let's say, Looker is nothing but a visualization service on GCP. If I click on that, you should see that Looker is pinned now. You can change your pinned services as you want. Okay. Coming back to the page, let's go and start with the compute engine now. Once you click on compute engine, by default, it will take you to the all VM instances page. So I'll hold for a moment here if you have any questions for me. Do you have any questions for me?
No, sir.
Okay. So this is my new project, because that's why I know that it has not enabled the API. Okay. For both of them, it is asking me to enable API. Was I using some different project? I think this should be the one. I might have taken from the cache. I think this was the Cloud Engine one that I was using initially. Let me just go and refresh. It's still asking me to do enable. Is it taking the current project, or I am on the new project? Let me try and enable it. If I don't see any of the details here, enable billing. So that's where, like, if any service that you're using, it will ask you to use the billing account. I'm using my personal billing account that we added at the card at the start, right? It will go to my billing account. I think this is a new project. So it might take me some time. Let me duplicate it. Right, let me go to this. Let me go to Cloud Engineering 2. It says API enabled. I can directly go here. Go back to Compute Engine. I'm on the instance management page, and for you guys, it might be this. You might have enabled the API, so it takes certain times longer, right? And for some of you, it might also break in between. If you go and refresh, you'll be able to come to this particular page. The reason you say this, this all instances created on my screen, because I have already shown a demo like we did some hands-on from the day one. We are doing hands-on. That's the reason. Okay, let's create a VM instance. Create a VM instance. You just click on create instance. Okay, I have created an instance. The naming convention that you should follow, or the best practice that I follow, you already have a project name here. Here you have to make sure that what is the purpose of that particular project. For example, I am going to do a hands-on. Correct? Hands-on is my specific purpose, and here I can add a date. That's what I follow. 04. Today's date is 27. So it gives me, let's say tomorrow I hold this VM instance. I'll know on which particular date I created this and what was this particular VM instance created for. It was created for hands-on. Correct? Now you have region and zones. A region can be a larger area like Europe, Asia, right? America. Like you see, right? US is divided into 4 different regions. You will see 5 different regions. Sorry, my bad. You have US East, West, North, South, and Central. And again, in that particular area, if you see US Central 1, US East 1, East 2, East 3, East 4, and so on, in East 5. These regions are divided. Under that regions, you'll have a specific zone. And how the zones are created, the name if you see, if you have US-West 4, that is Las Vegas. Under that, you'll have US-West 4-A-B-C. Or it can be -A-B-C and -F, right? Depending upon the region. Okay. Now, zone is an actual physical location, right? Where your data center is located. Zone is a region where your data center is located. For example, in Asia, India, Mumbai can be one data center location. Singapore can be one data center location, and many other places. Okay. So you can keep those as default. So what I've done till now, I have given a name. I'm also covering a best practices in parallel so that I don't, people who have already been in my class, it will be also in addition to that. So I'm giving a purpose, like what I want to create, right? Tomorrow, let's say you want to do some administration work, right? Administration or cleanup work. It will be cleanup hyphen that particular data. That's what I follow. There are multiple ways to come up with this best practice. It's just that it is to provide you some metadata information about any activity that you are trying to do. Here, I'm actually looking at the creation data. Okay. Under this, you'll find multiple different machines. We have general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, and GPUs. GPUs and TPUs, you might already know. It's used for data science applications. Okay. Memory optimized and compute optimized are specific machines that have memory in huge number. If you see the CPUs, like the threads will be more as well. And under compute, similarly, you'll see that it has a higher number of compute instances. Let's say tomorrow you want to calculate a lot of algorithm, like in case of big data, I'll use a compute optimized machine. Whereas if I'm using an application like Spark, or I'm using any Redis related application wherein I need memory optimization, I need a machine which is optimized for memory calculations or in-memory calculations, I'll use memory optimized. Okay. Normally general purpose serves all kind of loads. It's just that if you're looking for high specific speed, let's say for example, if I take an example of Netflix, correct? If Netflix is doing some processing which is related to video processing, it needs to be very fast, right? Because it has to be a second latency. I can't even say second, it will be milliseconds. Correct? You need very fast results. So in those cases, you might use compute optimized and memory optimized machines. Okay. But for general purpose, let's say for consulting companies or any other product based companies that you want to do some data loading, you want to do any cleanup related work, you want to do any housekeeping related work. When I say housekeeping, it means that you are getting a file, you want to clean the file and you want to put some location. In those cases, we'll be using general purpose machine. Okay. With me, guys. I have covered the name, I covered region and zones, and I have covered the machine configurations. Okay, is with me? Here, if you see, we have this E2 micro, E2 small, E2 medium, and multiple others. This E2 stands for the machine family. This is the disk type. It is a standard machine, and -2 stands for how many virtual CPUs are there. Okay, if you see here, E2 standard 4, E2 standard 8, because it has 8 vCPUs, and it's a standard machine. But if I go to compute optimized, it's a standard, it says C2, compute optimized standard 4, C2 standard 8. It has 8 vCPUs, 16 vCPUs, 30 vCPUs, 60 vCPUs, and so on. And there are multiple different families as well. You see, it's Cascade Lake, memory optimized. You'll have again different families M1, M2, M3. For GPUs, get NVIDIA, and I think there is one more. It's NVIDIA. All the family versions of NVIDIA is available to you. Okay, and the number of GPUs that you can enable. I'll be using a general purpose machine. Let me go back to general purpose. Okay, we have this general purpose machine here. I'm using the default one, E2 medium. Okay, now here I'm selecting a boot disk. So now if you see, by default, a boot disk is added to your particular VM instance. And the type of this VM instance is persistent disk. Tomorrow in tomorrow's lecture, I'll be covering what are the different types of block storages. This is a type of a block storage. So in our project or in our syllabus, we have two types of storage available to us. One is block storage and the other one is object storage. We talked about cloud storage, right? I told you that it's an archival storage and you can use for general purpose, and mostly companies use that because that's very cheap. This is actually a disk, basically persistent disk, it says, right? And one disk or the other disk that can be available to you will be a local SSD. Local SSD, we'll talk about like what is a local SSD, what is a persistent disk. Don't worry about that. The one I want you to focus on that when you create a VM instance, you want to have a boot disk. A boot disk is by default added to it. Okay, and the type of that particular disk is persistent disk. If I want to change that particular disk, I can click on change. You can change the operating system. If you see, compute optimized, multiple others, Fedora, Ubuntu. I can even use Windows Server. I can use any Debian image that I want to. These are kind of images that came into picture once Docker came. You have Buster, you have Bullseye, you have, I think, Slim something. So these are having certain packages. Each image is lighter than the previous one and serves a specific purpose. Okay, you don't have to go much in detail. You can select the default one. I'm using a balanced percentage disk. I don't need an extreme one. Right, a balanced one would work for me, and I need 10 GB. 10 GB should be very fine. Okay, let's say tomorrow I want to use a custom image. The one demo that I was about to show today, I'll show you in some time. In custom image, what you can go select here, and you'll be able to find any image that you might have created. So this is the image that I created in, I think, in my previous class. So I can select this particular image as well. Right, you get multiple options. You have snapshots. Snapshot is nothing but a point in time replica of any machine that is running. Right, we'll talk about all those things. Currently, let's focus on the default one. I'm using the default. I mean, boot disk. Here, I want to allow HTTP because I want to access that particular application via internet. Okay, I'll do a create. It says make sure all fields are enabled. Can you see if I'm missing something? I can miss some field under this. If I'm missing any, put this is there. Okay, management related terminate instance. Okay. So this is one that you need to provide. What if your on host maintenance goes? I'll say that's terminate instance because I don't need anything. Right? Customer manage encryption. I don't have to do anything. I just say create. Let's go to image. It's asking me for Okay, it asks me to put the recommended one. I'll be able to create that VM instance. So a VM instance is nothing but your Linux server. If you might have worked with Windows and you might have worked with VirtualBox was the name of the server, or VMware, right? You use an image from Windows or Ubuntu and you spin up a new container in that. So this is your Linux server. In my case, it's a Debian server. Okay. And Compute Engine is a service, right? It is not equivalent to Linux server. The name of the Compute Engine is it's a service that enables you to create this Linux servers, right? It's true that you create Linux servers using Compute Engine, but Compute Engine itself is not a Linux server, right? It is a service. You're getting it, guys? Compute Engine, it's a service that helps you create servers. It can be Windows, it can be Linux, it can be any other that you can see multiple images from. Okay. If I click on this particular instance, you'll see that I have multiple different information. The one that I'm interested in, this internal and external IP. It says I'm using a default network, default subnet. Once we go to VPC, we'll create our own network and own subnet. But right now we are not focused on that. This internal IP is internal to an organization. It means that two different organizations can have the same internal IP. It means that if you and I, we are working for two different companies, let's say ABC and XYZ, we both can have the same internal IP. Okay, but the external IP will be unique. Okay, currently if I go and hit this external IP, it will see that bad page. I don't have anything. Now, if I want to enable my application, right, I have to deploy a server that is nothing but HTTP server. If I want to access via HTTP protocol, I want to deploy an HTTP server. Correct? Before that, if you see, it says ephemeral here. People who have been in the previous class, they know that ephemeral, it is not specific to this IP only. It can be anything, any cloud service. What ephemeral in whole essence essentially mean is that once you terminate this instance or once you stop this instance, this IP would go. Okay, it will not be available to you. It is possible that it might be allocated to some different customer. Okay. As I stop this particular instance, if I do it right now, let me do it quickly. Let me do a stop. It will take a certain time and this IP would go. Go and refresh. It is not yet stopped. It's stopping. So normally this IP would go. Okay. In addition to what we have observed previously, people who have been in my previous classes, is today I was about to cover the disk, right? So now, if you minimize this virtual machine, you'll see there is a panel that calls as storage, right? So we can wait here till it refreshes. Very quickly can jump to the disk part. Yeah, it says stopped. And now it just says ephemeral, right? My internal IP is still there, but my external IP is gone.
The screen not visible, sir.
Is my screen not visible? Oh, thank you, Srinivas. Thank you for pointing. So since when it is not visible, like the entire time?
No, just a few minutes, just 1 minute.
Oh, I think I might have mistakenly clicked on it. Okay. I just stopped that particular instance. If you see my internal IP is still there. Thank you, Srinivas. Thank you for pointing it out. Guys, if you have any problem like the font, voice is not clear, screen is not visible, anything, please then and there stop me so that I can correct it and we can go from there. Okay. You see my external IP is not there. It says ephemeral. It is gone now. That's what ephemeral means. Now, a typical use case for you would be, what if I want to launch a website? Right? Not everybody wants to go for a job, right? I might want to learn Google Cloud to launch my own business. I already have my business. I want to go online, but I don't want to use services like GoDaddy and other platform. I want to put it my own configuration and everything, right? For me, I need an IP, correct? So there is something called as reserve IP. We'll also cover that. Okay, I'll try to cover, like we have 15 minutes. I should be able to cover it. Okay, this is what ephemeral means. Now coming to the people who have already in my class and those who have started. If I minimize this virtual machine, right, you'll see there's a vertical that says storage, a group that says storage, right? If I click on disk here, you'll see that a particular disk will be assigned. If you remember at the start, we saw that there was a persistent disk, balanced persistent disk was created, correct? We have a disk here. So a custom image can be created from the virtual machine or from the disk. If I click on this, you'll see that I can create a snapshot, or I can create an image, or I can clone the disk. Up to me, right? Let me go back and show you the demo hands-on for VM instance. I'm just gonna click on it. I'm gonna say start. So if I go to this particular instance, my external IP should come back. So one primary question that you can think of: can any resource in GCP not have a primary or internal IP and have an external IP? I'll repeat it for you. Is it possible that any resource under GCP project, let's say this Cloud Engineer -2, will not have an internal IP, but will have an external IP? Or both the IPs are not there, for example. Can that be possible? It won't be. The reason is, any service that you use has to has an internal IP, because that's how they'll be able to interact with Google Cloud. This is up to me, right? Let's say tomorrow I don't want to expose that service to internet. I might not want to need any external IP, right? This is specifically used to talk to the external world, like public IP, public address, a public internet, right? So a resource, a machine will always have an internal IP, but may or may not have an external IP depending upon the use case. Right? You see, now if as I spend it up, I got my external IP back. So it's not mandatory that you'll get the same IP, but nowadays I have seen that it gets the same IP. But initially used to get different IPs.
Excuse me, sir, one doubt, sir.
Yeah, Srinivas, please go on.
This primary internal means public or private, sir?
No, this is private. So it is for the organization. So
public, external IP?
External IP is public.
Yeah.
This is the IP we hit via internet. Okay. So now the demo that I'm going to show you, right? What I'm going to do, I'm going to SSH into the machine. It's still staging. It says that it's still running. Let's hold on for some time. So normally how this internal IP is created is that out of the total network that is provided to you, you create a subnet. Basically, you divide your network into multiple different chunks, right? And from that subnet, by default, if I click on this, let me. So we are going to cover VPC networks, firewalls, VPC pairing, everything. Now, if you see, this is the default VPC network, and it has a range here, right? Out of this range, one IP will be assigned to a particular resource. That's how you get that IP. So once you go to VPC, we'll be having all these details. Okay, coming back to this, let's see if my instance has been started. Yeah, it's running now. So now at the top, you'll see this SSH. It is called a secured shell. It will give you an access to that particular machine. I don't have a UI access. I'll be having a CLI access, command line interface, or terminal access if you say. right? Like for example, in Windows, you do the CMD, right? My bad. Windows R, you create this terminal, right? I'll have similar access like that. Now, this is my particular VM instance. Okay. What I want to do, I want to install an HTTP server. So I want to have a website, a simple HTML page on that particular IP. The one that is currently giving me this error, right? I want to have a public page here. So let's do that. So I want to do sudo. So what I'm doing, I'm actually switching the user. If you see, I am a user. I am becoming the root user or an administrative user here. Okay. Now what I'll do, I'll say apt update. So normally when you create this particular image from that particular, this virtual machine and the particular images, this image might have been created a month back or 2 months back, right? So during that particular period, that particular OS might have received some update, correct? To get that update, so we do this apt update. Apt is the package handler. If you go with Ubuntu, you might have yum. If you go with Red Hat, it will be having yum, right? Or RPM. These are package handlers, like you have installations, right? If anybody might have worked with Python, you might have heard of the word pip, right? Pip. So these are package handlers. Now to install HTTP service, I want to do apt install Apache 2. The HTTP service name is Apache 2. Okay. Okay, so install. Now you see I get this prompt Y or N. I have to put Y to enable it, but it doesn't work if I'm doing it. I want to run it as a script, right? It will keep prompting me and my script will stop here. Unless until I give an input Y or N, it will not work. For to avoid this, what we do, we add a flag here after apt, which is -y. It means that any prompt I'm giving my yes to it. Now it will not ask me for Y or N. It will install that particular package, right? So once this service is installed, what we'll do, we'll start the service. We'll do service Apache start. Okay. If I go here, let me duplicate this page. Now you see I have a HTML page here, right? Initially I was getting an error, but now I have an HTML page. But where this page is coming from? It normally comes from this particular folder. This is a folder var www html. If I go to my machine again, right? If I go to cd/var/www/html, you'll see that there is a page, index.html. So this particular website is getting, or this particular page is getting rendered from that index.html. Now let me add my own message on that. I can do echo from Vasu compute engine hands on. I want to overwrite this index file, correct? Because that's where my web page is coming from. If I run this to see the content of the index.html file, right? I can do a cat. I will see it will show that hello from Vasu compute engine hands on. If I go and refresh this particular page, you'll see that I get that particular message, right? Are you with me, guys? So what I did, I installed an HTTP service, that is Apache 2. Okay, I started the service. Service gave me a default page, which is having some index.html file in the backend. The file is located at /var/www/html. This is the directory of that particular file, right? Now what I wanted to do, let me put in the chat, also put in the chat for this directories. I have overridden the index.html file, right? I have overridden the index.html file. Now I'm able to see that particular message, right? It becomes my public page. Okay, with me till here. Any questions, guys, till here? Assume no. Okay, let's go and talk about this more. But if you see, if I do this history, now if you see, these are the commands that I have run. I have run apt update, I have run apt install Apache. This one I ran it because I don't want this prompt. We started the service, we went to the CD, we did this, and we overridden the file, we did a cat. Right? These are the commands. If I want to copy, I copy it and I can share it with you. So I don't want this, I'll just get rid of this. ls-l is not required. I'm just doing a cat. Cat is also not required. So this is what I have done. Let me go to the chat window. I'll share it with you on the chat. These are the commands that I have run. But the drawback of this particular approach that I have used to create my launch page or my index page or my public page is like I have to do it manually. What if I want to do it for 10 or 20 different servers, whatever different machines? I want to find an automated way, correct? Here, what I can do, let me close this. Let me go to that particular VM instance. Here, you have something called as automation. Under this custom metadata, I don't have anything automated right now, right? But I want to do this. Let's see if I can edit it directly. Also at the start, for manually doing that, I did a sudo. Here, right? Before this, I did a sudo. So if you are doing it manually for the hands-on, you'll be needing this sudo. Without it, you will not be able to run. If I can delete this or edit this, let me delete this. I'll copy this again. Has sudo, yes. Let me go to this here. Now, if I come back to the machine configuration, everything, right? Management, automation. It has this automation script. So I have already installed on that particular machine, right? So it doesn't make sense to do it here. Let's create a new instance and we'll use that automation. Right. Let me go back. Let me click on create instances. We'll follow everything the same step. Now I'm going to say hands-on bootstrap. Bootstrap is nothing but having a startup script that installs the OS patches and some software. In this case, Apache 2 service. Okay, I'll keep everything enabled the same thing. I'm not changing anything here. Okay, same desk. I'll do enable HTTP. Right, click on advanced. Under management, you will see this automation, which gives you a space wherein you can install this. Right. So what I'm going to do, while you use automation script, you don't use sudo. Okay. We use apt update, we install, start the service, okay, and will override the HTML file. So instead of doing CD, I'm directly writing this particular file. I don't need the CD as well. This is my file. I'll just say, let me just say startup script simply. Okay. If I go and copy paste here, I have all these commands. Let me see if I can drag it here. But In Linux, right, I'm using Debian. We have something called as shell. You have to tell the OS which particular shell that you have to use. For example, you have something called as .sh. You have something called as .ksh. You have something called as like for example Windows command line, right? It's also a shell. You have to give, like if you want to use a bash, you want to use an sh, if you want to use an ksh or csh, multiple others, and even there are multiple different shells are available. I want to use bash. I'll say bin /bash. Okay, this is something is called as bashing. This I'm using a bash, right? It's called bashing. I'm actually telling the OS to use bash for my particular command. Okay, I'll repeat. I'm just updating the OS patches. I'm installing the Apache 2 service. I'm starting the service and I'm overriding the index.html file. Let's start it. So it will take me some time. Let me do one thing. Meanwhile, I can stop this. Close the other ones. Let me go to this hands-on bootstrap. Right? But we'll go to that external IP. I have this external IP assigned. Correct? We go here and let me click on this. I have my particular page. Now, if you see, I got the bootstrap. You saw that landing page, right? Which was by default because it was still running and I hit it between that. But now I'm getting the bootstrap script. Now, how would I know that this is coming from the one that I have given? But you can go, if you come down here under management, you'll see our startup script. You see that here, right? This is our startup script. Go back. Let me refresh. I think I went to that console early, so not allowing me to see that entire script. Right? This is the place where you have your script. If I click on this equivalent REST, right, we're going to talk about 𝐺Cloud, like Google Cloud, the API can get the REST API differences or REST API details here. Okay, let me go and search for it. If you see, this is my script that I gave. I expand it a bit. Let me copy it so that it will be more easy. Okay. I come up here, you'll see that this was my script. I said, this is my shell. I said apt update. I did this apt-y install Apache 2 service start echo bootstrap script. Remember why this /n are added? Because it was on a new line. This /n is nothing but a new line character. Okay. Are we clear till this? So I'm gonna stop here, guys. Tomorrow I'll start with external IP, how you can reserve an external IP. Because now if I start this particular or stop this particular instance, my IP is gonna go, right? But what if I want to reserve that IP? How can I do that? So we'll reserve the IPs. Okay. And after that, we'll take and how we do the hands-on. I'll talk about custom images. I have not talked about instance template. I'll also cover instance template tomorrow. Okay. I think I got chat. So please share resume and course content PDF, right? Just a minute. This is a course content PDF. I'll share the resume tomorrow. I don't have it handy on this particular machine of mine. Okay. Ravi, can you please remind me tomorrow? I'll definitely share tomorrow. Guys, I'll halt here. If you have any questions, please let me know. So I'll repeat what different services or what different things that we have covered. We have gone through the Google Cloud Console. We have taken a look at how you can organize the resources, right? We talked about folders, we talked about organization, we talked about projects. We also took a look at, if you have created a project, I can create two different projects with the same name, but not with the same project ID, correct? And project ID is the one which will be referred across. Once we go to the Google Cloud Console or the API, once we start using it, we'll see that we'll need the project ID everywhere. But as a best practice, you should not name two different projects same. Okay. We also looked at that currently we are using a personal account, but if you go with an org, how your resources can be converted or encapsulated into the projects, what will be the hierarchy? Org will be at the top, then you'll have folders, and under that you have multiple different projects. After that, we have seen for compute engine, how you can spin up an instance. After spinning up that compute instance, we talked about what is the region, what is the zone. We talked about that OS, right? We clicked on disk, the boot disk that is by default attached to a compute engine. It has a 10 GB instance. If you want to change it, you can change it. You can change the OS as well. Therein, we also saw that you can use a custom image. We'll cover custom image in our upcoming lecture. After that, we thought that we'll enable the HTTP access, for which we wanted a launch landing page. We enabled it using an Apache 2 service. We have to go and manually install while you create an instance without using bootstrap script or the startup script. Okay. After that, what we have seen is how you can automate that particular process. We talked a bit about what is an external IP and internal IP. Tomorrow, once I demo how you can reserve an external IP, we'll talk more about that. Okay. Internal IP, in short, is like can be non-unique across organizations. Okay, it can be non-unique across multiple different departments. Let's say if you have two different cloud accounts itself. I'm not talking about the project. You can have two different two resources with the same internal IP, but the external IP will always be different, because the external IP has to be unique across the globe so that it can be uniquely identified. Okay. Apart from that, what we have seen at the end is how you can automate it. I'm about to share the script. Just a minute, I'll share it with you guys. This is the bootstrap clip. So we have added this bootstrap information in the automation part of that VM instance console, right? It has to be added into the VM instance part. So team will be sharing the recording. So make sure that guys, you do hands-on. And Shijana, anybody who is from a non-IT background, right? I'll say that try hands-on as much as possible. If you come across any issue, let me know. Note it down. We have a Slack channel. I think here everybody has enrolled and is a part of Slack channel. If you are not in the Slack channel, please let team know, like the LWP Labs team. They'll be able to add you there. And any questions or any issues that you have, feel free to post it there with a screenshot. I'll make sure that I address that particular issue tomorrow morning before starting the session. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
In tomorrow's class, I'll be covering how you can reserve an external IP. I'll also be covering an instance template. I'll be covering how you can create a custom image, right? And I'll also be talking about a drawback and why do you need a load balancer. Load balancer is an advanced topic of compute engine, but we'll be talking a bit about that. And once we go to the advanced topic, we'll be implementing those. Okay. If you don't have any questions, guys, feel free to drop off. If you have any questions, please post in the chat or you can talk now. Thank you, Srinivas. If you don't have any questions, thank you for attending and sorry for extending a bit. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shijana. Anybody who would like to interact with me personally on the resume part, please feel free to ping me on the Slack group. You can ping me directly on the Slack. if you feel that you need any personal assistance, right? I'll be available. So I might not respond readily, but I'll be available. Sorry, Srinivas, go on.
No, market is too much dull na when it happen for normal days.
Market is too much dull, that was saying. Okay. So Srinivas, to be very frank, right? Yes, the market is volatile, right? But I'll tell you that I am taking interviews every day.
Okay.
The companies are hiring, but now initially what company used to do, they used to have a bench strength. Right? You are already an IT professional, you don't understand that what is a bench strength is, correct? But now they are only hiring for specific people, specific positions. And this is the part when you have this consulting companies like Google, Amazon, even Microsoft, right? They used to bulk hire. Like freshers used to not work on a project, they used to work on an in-house project for long, right, for them. But now as US economy has, I can say, scrammed out, or it has become or shrunk a bit, right? That's where people are struggling. But with companies wherein they hire only the people that they need, okay, they don't have any problem. I can say, let's say if you go with cloud or big data technologies, right? People are hiring left and right. So there is no such thing that it's volatile. Definitely, yeah. Now people are more constrained or looking for specific skills. Initially, what people used to do, let's say if you have worked on GCP or you have a knowledge of GCP, and I want to have an AWS resource, I could prefer GCP guy because he or she knows the cloud. But now people just want people who knows actually only AWS, because I can put that person onto the job and I cannot wait for that period. And this situation is going to be there till the next year first quarter.
Up to
Next year first quarter till like 2024 till March you should be seeing this situation. But I can tell you, like, there are multiple of my students who have gone to the other countries for job. Even my some friends are going to other countries for job, and I have interviewed a lot of people. So there are opportunities.
Sir, when you learn properly any cloud, opportunity will come in on-site.
Yeah, definitely. So on-site, I'll say what we are learning is a cloud engineer one. But people who go to on-site, right, they have a specific role. So there is a hierarchy to it. Let's say if you are a BA, right, a BA gets an opportunity first because BA has to work with the client itself. Because I have to take the requirement, right? It's not a technical work. I have to take the requirement, I have to write the requirement, I have to create a BRD, I have to create Jira stories for you, right? All those things. So BA has to go to the client location. There is no other option, because the client is working on some different time zone. I'm working on a different time zone. It will not be possible. Else I have to do the night job. The client is not going to do it, right? I have to go to the night shift. That's the only option then. Correct? That's why people prefer that. And specifically now, let's say if you are on a bit higher position, when you say, let's say, even you have a cloud engineer and you have created a project from scratch, let's say we have whatever that we have done, we have created a project, we got a chance to work in a company and create everything from scratch. Now you have a dependency, correct? Now in these situations, people get on site because client wants somebody to be there to work with them to understand their requirements, right?
Yes,
and after that, it would be that people will hire on offshore to support you. But mostly on-site people that I have seen are but a senior position. Like, and when a senior, it doesn't mean they are like lead architect level. They're like senior cloud engineer or senior developer, something like that. Normally cloud engineers don't get a chance, but it's not like that. I have not seen people going. Okay.
Okay, sir. But we can easily put that 3 to 4 years experience, sir.
Yeah. So 3 to 4, after you complete this, you can definitely show this 3 or 4 years of experience that we talked about from the project that we are going to deliver. Okay. Thank you.